Welcome back to our monthly conversation with Konstantin Samoilov, one of the most respected voices on YouTube about what is happening in Russia at the moment. Of course, he is no longer able to be in Russia because of the current situation and because of his highly principled, moral, and outspoken stance in condemning the war. We touch upon various topics in our episodes, including the economy and the state of Russia's war machine. And we will, of course, be touching upon some of that latest news today. But before we do, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you like this conversation, make sure you add a like. It really does help new people to discover the channel. And also, please, thank you on behalf of me and Konstantin to everybody who has supported our Patreon, buy me a coffee or any other service. That helps both of us to keep doing materials like these. It is incredibly important to help us carry on the fight, carry on with our creative work. And of course, there's a special reason why it's important at the moment. Konstantin is not able to put out as much content as he normally would. I will let him explain a little bit about the personal situation, which means that he is making a Herculean effort to try and create content at the moment, but it is in rather difficult circumstances. Konstantin, welcome, and over to you.
Hello, Jonathan. Thank you so much for having me again. It's a pleasure as usual. I'm sorry, not in the best physical shape. I have a little troubles with my face. Left side is paralyzed, so it's slowly getting better, but you know, not the usual me.
It's certainly not. Well, certainly your insights are going to be on point, but unfortunately, physically, you've had a difficult time. Well, I'm sure I join with everybody in the audience in wishing you well and hoping for a speedy recovery. I understand you're a lot better today than you were a couple of weeks ago when this first happened. So hopefully, this will pass relatively quickly.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm recovering slowly, but recovering. Yeah, feeling a bit better. Still medicated, but that's okay.
Well, one thing
Was
that
worse before.
Well, yeah, that's true at this time. We have to remember, especially Ukrainians in trenches, which is with the winter coming on, not something
Can't
we.
argue with that. Yes.
One thing that isn't getting better, however, is the Russian economy. I know that's quite a sort of cheesy sort of way of linking into the story, but what seems to be extraordinary when we look at commentators such as Vladimir Milov, Michael Naki, and others extraordinary difficulties in the Russian economy with inflation. There's low unemployment, but that creates another problem because many jobs in the crucial industries are going unfilled. We have record base rates. We have issues with factories not being able to keep their production lines going, and many, many, many more. But it seems to me that these stories are not covered in enough detail. Rather, we focus on other things, which is the supposed might of the Russian army and these kind of invincibility and so on. From your perspective, has the economy got a lot worse since the last time we spoke?
Jonathan, there's one thing that is mighty in Russia, probably the mightiest in the world, and that is Russian propaganda. That thing is mighty. As for the economy, as for everything that is going on in Russia, I mean, to your viewers, it shouldn't come as surprise because we have spoken about this coming for so many times, and it's certainly not a surprise to me, not surprise to you and some experts. Um, Thing is, this is the Rubicon has been crossed, so to speak. This is the situation when we do not forecast anymore. We are simply looking at what's going on and reporting what is happening in Russia. Okay, and things are as predicted, as forecasted. They're pretty darn bad. And like I'll repeat it once more. This perfect economic, not just economic, but also economic storm above Russia, and it's spinning. It's not going anywhere. It's intensifying, like that recent hurricane in Florida that was big. Um, all these problems, they've come to the surface, and Russian propaganda is trying to do its best to. It can't cover things up anymore. The best it can do is it can keep silence. Okay, if something serious happens and you don't hear about it, you know it's serious. Okay, all these things you said, it's a reality. Unemployment is not low; it's catastrophical. Companies do close right now because of they can't fill positions. People start staging hunger strikes. There's a hunger strike going on right now in the east of Russia, in the region of Kuzbas, because people haven't gotten paid since July. They have no money to buy food, so they come and announce hunger strike. Prices are going up for everything. There are so many reasons. I won't even get into the details right now. It's everything combined. It's a perfect storm. Inflation is up. The central bank doesn't know what to do about it. It cannot tackle inflation. What's so interesting right now is even those experts who are trying to sugarcoat situation, for example, the central bank executives, some economists such as Natalia Zubarevich, they don't do that anymore. They've stopped. Now they're kind of telling the truth in a way. Even Zubarevich, I was very surprised when she started criticizing current policies and telling things as they are. So that's kind of unheard. I mean, the experts such as Lipsitz, Milov, and Naki, we've been talking about it all along, but the other side is turning towards us, going on our side, saying, "Hey, this is really bad." So
And what's
this is it.
interesting to me, I mean, these economists who have for the last couple of months started to give a maybe not a fully transparent picture, but certainly a sort of negative prognosis. And as you say, sharing what has been sometimes, the central bankers and economists with links to the regime have been saying things that are actually even more extreme than some of the critics have been saying. So that's kind of interesting. What they pointedly don't do, of course, is they don't condemn the war. They don't call for a stop to the war. They don't say anything about the decision going to war. So is that what's protecting them? Is it because they're talking about an expert area which is still necessary to the regime and they're not explicitly criticizing foreign policy, military policy? And yet we saw this week an oil executive of Yukos, I believe, who had criticized the war, had an unfortunate incident with a window that was placed quite highly up in a building. Is that the critical factor here? Is criticizing the war and the upper leadership. And for now, if you're giving your expert opinion, then that's kind of tolerated.
Well, I think that executive, former Yugos executive, had health problems for a little different reason. It's too early to say. I'm looking deeper into this situation, but I can't really say anything. I don't have enough data, but I will follow up on that. I think we need to understand that in Russia, whoever is pro war, pro government is a Russian propaganda. They certainly sold out. Okay, they are getting paid by the government, and there is the rule that you basically cannot say anything that goes against the party line. All the media, now it's been 2.5, almost 3 years since the start of the war. There has been plenty of time to adjust the policies of how information is released to the Russian public. I'm pretty sure there are think tanks. Well, I know there are think tanks out there, behind the curtain, working 24/7, monitoring, brainstorming, coming up with ideas, and um, injecting those ideas into the minds of Russians. And all the so-called experts that you talk about, you mentioned here, is they are nothing but tools. They don't have their own voices. They're not allowed to say what they think and remotely. So once in a while, someone, says something that, a little frivolous, okay? And then that person usually gets shut down, gets a warning. The second warning, well, that's usually not a warning, that's an action, okay? And these people, they're told they say what they're told to say. That's plain and simple. I listen to them, of course, because they give me the sense of agenda. What kind of agenda is being pushed right now? I'll give you the latest. You know what's Russia's biggest problem right now? Biggest threat? Well, actually, two threats. First is quad robbers. Do you know who quad robbers are?
No, no, this is a new one
Yeah,
for me.
it's kids who pretend play as their animals, like horses. They dress up like cats and they try to imitate cats and dogs. I had never heard this word and this game and this hobby until July. But it turns out that everyone, including Lavrov at official meetings, talks about it as one of the biggest threats for the future of Russia. Because what's going to happen to these kids when they grow up? They're going to become Satanists and they know good, And the second problem is child free. Everybody's talking about, oh, child
That
free
one I've
is a
heard of,
crime now.
yes.
Okay. We must tax those who don't have kids, even if they physically cannot have children. Their diagnosis, no, it doesn't matter. There's going to be like $300 to $400 tax per month on these people and so forth. And then this is Russian agenda is filled with this information, Russian information space. Why are they doing this? Well, obviously they are trying to divert attention from real issues like what's going on in Kursk, what's going on at Russian food stores, what's going on with those coffins coming back in like thousands, hundreds of thousands, I don't know. What's going on with Russia's future? What's going on with the educational system, healthcare system? These are questions. Why we are having the same president for like 25 years now? These are questions. And no, it's quad robbers. It's kids dressing up as cats and trying to imitate cats. So I strictly look at the propaganda from this angle. It tells me what agenda, what information they're trying to push, and that's it. Most people, they're just not independent. They say what they're told to say.
And another story, and this did surprise me a little bit. It's one that we had sort of discussed a little before we hit the cameras. And this is another piece of propaganda, but it's around so-called Russia's new gas turbines and a so-called reindustrialization process. And you put out a really interesting video about that the other day. So what's going on here? Is this trying to convince people ahead of the winter that everything's going to be okay, or is this part of a wider sort of Potemkin facade kind of campaign to say, Russia can be independent of the West, can be independent of the global economy. Here, we're going to manufacture everything ourselves. What do you think's going on here?
This is Potemkin village mixed with real demand for turbines, basically. There are a few things in our lives that affect us directly. It's amount of food that we have. It doesn't matter where we get it from farms, grow ourselves, from stores. We gotta have food. It's the roofs over our heads, and it is how warm it is for us in the winters. That's three things. You can't just go around them. So as we saw last winter, and I mean, I'm coming from the energy industry in Russia. I spent 20 years working inside Russia's power electric generation, transmission, and distribution. Okay, I know, well, I know it well, let's put it this way. And we all saw what was happening in Russia last winter. It wasn't the record coldest winter. It was just regular Russian winter, general frost, so to speak. And 27 cities declared states of emergency because they had breakdowns of their infrastructure, water supply, heat supply, um, electricity supply. And I mean, if you're stuck somewhere in minus 27 and at night and you don't have anything for 3 days in a row, I mean, it's not Cuba where people just go outside and burn little fires and cook their food. And no, you can't do that in Russia. You die, you freeze to death.
I was on a train
But
once. I was on the kind of Krasnodar, but it was the cheap version between Moscow and St. Petersburg, and the heating broke down, and it was minus 15. So you're a little bit
must be
insulated, but I know that's not comfortable. I can say to the audience, that's not nice.
must have been 91, 92, 93, right? I remember traveling in trains because planes were just not affordable. I remember traveling in winter, and you know what question number one was when you were booking your, getting to your train? Is your cab warm? And even without us asking, we would be checking in, and the train attendant, cab attendant, will always say, "Oh, no, don't worry, it's warm. It's very nice. It's yeah. You get in there, it's warm. You're like, you don't care about anything else. Smell, comfort of your bed, cleanliness, whatever. It's got to be warm. So it's got to be warm this winter. But I'm afraid that the troubles are coming because there are over 350 foreign-made turbines right now being operated in Russia, and they all require maintenance. And I mean, they're very well made. They're very reliable. Siemens, GE, Ansaldo Energia, Alstom, I think, has a few turbines. But the thing is, you need to maintain them. And if you don't, you can last for some time, but eventually they need spare parts and they break. And they started breaking last winter. And this winter, no one was usually there's a set of actions. It's called подготовка к зимнему сезону, the preparation for the winter season. When they double check, they fix all the leaks in heat supply systems. They double check everything. They see what's worn, they replace it, and it's a big deal. And it starts in summertime. No one was doing it, as far as I know, or doing very little. And Russians are going to be paying the price. So I think everyone understands that, except Russian people themselves, but everyone in the energy industry. And I think the politicians also understand, because that is something that will affect people. It might get them very angry, and they might go on the streets for that. And they're trying desperately to fix this situation, but I just don't see any ways how. The new turbine they just announced a couple of weeks ago, it's not so new. It's modernized, old Ukrainian turbine made in, engineered, produced in Nikolaev, Zarya project. It's in Ukraine. I know that manufacturing plant well. Used to produce engines for Russian Soviet Navy, ship turbine engines, excellent engines, by the way. But turbines, so they modernized it. They're calling it Russian turbine. I called my colleagues, former colleagues in Russia. They said, look, there are big questions about this turbine in Krasnodar because it's experimental. We'll see how it performs. It's power unit number 3 of this new power plant. power units number one, number two were Iranian turbines. But as far as I know, now they're having troubles with buying turbines from Iran because, it's a highly political matter now. Okay. And I don't have any high hopes for this so-called new Russian turbine, modernized Ukrainian turbine. And this is it. This is absolutely it. They're trying to keep good face, but we'll see what happens in a few weeks when it gets cold. One thing that can have saved them is very mild winter. Okay. Will it happen? We will see.
That's something I think no one can predict at this point, but yeah, this is definitely going to be interesting. I mean, we did an extraordinary episode last year that was massively popular about the catastrophic impact of the winter. Let's see what happens now. Well, you have a shortage of engineers. You have a shortage of people in factories to make these things. You have a shortage of people to service them. You have a shortage of people working in the boiler rooms who can just keep an eye and monitor these sort of systems. So personnel shortages is a big topic we discussed many times. We now potentially see a physical manifestation of this. We see North Korean troops being brought in to try and help retake territories in Kursk. Now, there are all sorts of implications to this. It's quite a provocative step. Potentially, it's also time to try and influence the US election and make Joe Biden look weak. And there's all these geopolitical things. But fundamentally, it also perhaps shows a lack of manpower to achieve the aims of the Russian military and elite. What was your reaction to this when you saw the pictures of North Korean troops starting to be equipped in Russia's Far East?
My first reaction was very emotional. I'm very ashamed because this is the lowest of the low. Okay, I don't even know how lower you can go. You promise you citizens that you do not declare war, but just a very short, very easy, very local special military operation against Ukraine with the reason of to save Russian culture, Russian citizens, to denazify that wonderful country, to demilitarize it, then you promise that there will be no mobilization, then Russia's army is powerful enough to is powerful enough, full of professional military servicemen to actually finish this special military operation. Then you declare mobilization, mobilize hundreds of thousands of people. Then you start paying those people, Russian people, so they would sign up military contracts. And I think I've heard the number 700,000 signed in 2.5 years and got paid. And then you start increasing sign-up bonuses. And it clearly shows that you're in desperation, okay? You're trying to get your hands on everyone you can get to the army. You get your country, you lose territory, okay? You do not defend your country. That's what you promised in the first place. Oh, this is all about making Russia safe, making Russia great again, and then you lose territory. Basically, you have the good part of your country is occupied by a foreign army, and you're not doing anything about it. And 250,000 of your people who lived in the occupied territories, they flee, they become homeless, basically. You're not helping them in any kind. And then there's nothing you can do about that. And at the end, you get North Koreans to fight. And you do not declare it openly. Oh, no. You smuggle them into your country, dress them as Russians, give them all Russian kids and everything, and pretend they're not there. Jonathan, I mean, I'm not supposed to be with this palsy, with this F of my face not working. I'm not supposed to be stressing out, but I mean, how I cannot stress out? Okay, my country is doing that to Ukraine. It doesn't matter, Ukraine or any other country, whatever. It's not just so wrong. Okay, and this is my emotional reaction. Now, as an analysis, forgive me. This is too early to say to make an analysis for me. I'm still gathering facts. There are many questions about this situation. Obviously, the Kremlin is lying. Peskov, when asked a couple of weeks ago, said absolutely not. It's all the informational war against Russia, and don't believe this is yellow press and everything. Now he's not so sure. So no, I don't know. Can't comment. Go and see the military of defense. And the military defense is silent. I mean, we have seen the videos from there, from them getting smuggled into Russian camps, the Russian bases, getting dressed. I mean, what else evidence do we need? Okay. There are questions remain. Why does Kim need that? He's setting himself up. Okay. Another question is it's not going to benefit him in the long run. Is he getting something in return? What can he get except for a nuclear bomb? Okay. Will Russia actually do that kind of a deal? Give a nuclear bomb? Um, Another question is North Korea. I mean, sending troops. South Korea is becoming so angry. Today, it announced that it's going to consider direct military aid to Ukraine. And South Korea has pretty darn good military stuff. Okay. Um, does China need that? Because China is definitely involved. And North Korea is Chinese proxy. It's not secret, right? Why
That's right.
does China need that? Why did it approve? China is definitely doing its own game. And it's very well could be that Putin is being set up by the Chinese right now with this whole ordeal. So uh, I have not been healthy enough to uh, um, have some time to think about it, to analyze, and but I have a stream coming up in a few days about that because that's definitely a huge development. We're not um, it's not showing us that Russia is so desperate for the troops at the front lines. It's a proof. Okay, you don't need anything else. It's been proven. Okay. I think those soldiers will not last long at the front lines because, well, let's place ourselves in the shoes of Russian commanders at the field. All of a sudden, they're holding the defense or they're trying to stage an offense of some kind. I don't know. But imagine they get like 5 or 10,000 North Koreans. So what would be their first reaction? Let's say, hey, boys, move away. We have comrades came helping us out. And they would send them to die. Okay. And why would they care about North Koreans, right? Well, and North Koreans will be killed. But the thing is, they will kill some Ukrainians along the way. And if it's 10,000 North Koreans right now, and it's one-time deal, probably not going to affect the situation at the front lines in any way. But what if North Koreans come in the amount of 10 or 12,000 every month for a year, for 2 years, I don't know, for a few months? That is very concerning. So there are more questions than answers. This is not good. It shows that situation in Russia is desperate. It shows that Putin doesn't want to get more Russian men. It's already bad as it is. There's no one to work. There's no one to fight. It shows that he is cornered and he's in zugzwang, and simply he has no moves left. But it also shows that there's a new development. And I think we are good. We are ought to watch very closely for the next weeks to see the developments and try to figure this thing out.
And we'll definitely keep an eye on this. I'll try to get other experts, certainly China experts, on the channel because, of course, China, 80% of both imports and exports to North Korea come from China. So if China didn't approve of this move, they would simply say no. And that would be an end of it. So I think you're right.
That would
Yeah.
be complete end, complete and immediate end. But Jonathan, think about this. I have a feeling, I don't know, I have nothing to back it up yet, but there's some kind of a gut feeling that Putin might be getting set up by the Chinese. There's some kind of a multi-step game being played right now. And
Well,
Russia is
yeah.
not in the driver's seat. Not Russia is being played. It's not moving the chess figures, so to speak.
That's a fascinating idea. We will try to dig into this. I'll look forward to your episode with great anticipation because I know this is, I think, for many of us, one of the most important developments that's happened since Kursk a couple of months ago. Konstantin, I'm going to let you go and let you get some rest. I think it's very important that your recovery is as rapid as possible. Your voice is an incredibly important one. We want it to get back to full strength. I'm so glad, though, that you're able to join our audience today.
Jonathan, thank you so very much. Now I'm gonna shut the camera off and gonna go to get my IVs, daily IVs administered. So therapy continues. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a little tougher than other times physically, but you know what? It's incredibly interesting and it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and good luck with everything. I know everybody in the audience will be wishing you well. Thank you.
Thank you.